Hello, Hartford, Connecticut, New York, Weathersfield. The, before America's founding, be, before the births of our founders, already before any of the sophistications of the maps at the time. They didn't have computers. They had sophistication from ancient times, more than we have now, in many ways. Look, we have pathology of infrastructure that was involved with the torture, factory nature, slavery of our founders, uses of the identity of England, of the identity of Connecticut as a crime method that knew that there was a whole bunch of nations that were knaves together with psychology. They're still doing this. They're forging names, switching names, stealing identities each year of each campus I went. They have originally instilled. This is right where George Washington had to come, right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War. They use crime methods of knowing you have to say things because they're involved with it. These are live progressions from each branch of government, at, from each person with it. Child victim predators. This is why through generations, through administrations, we had child offenders. We have mass knave forced. They say, oh, it's presidential. Pretend you don't realize. For example, we have foundations breaking down and no one knows how to afford things like this. For example, at the same time, no one knows how to react to tolls and to impositions where we have all this money and everyone, because we're in an identity of negative value nature, progression. Each modern nation, the states and areas, and the nation itself forced against all coming up, all individual value. When that is simultaneously bonded value together, positive, also positive unto itself, that gains the value of every individual coming up. This is a means to afford the concrete, to afford the resources for bridges and repairs like that outside of, and to afford while simultaneously affording reliefs to all natures of reliefs to all positions of home ownership, to all positions of no home ownership, in conjunction with this simultaneously. This is a simultaneous nature of value that is not mapped out, because all that was mapped out was built every point to stay roles as per a machine that made standing criminal insidiousness nature roles, mass wrongdoers, mass wrongdoing. And this is the story of American history. This is the story of the history of other modern nations. They were forced to not speak. They were forced to negotiations at Trade Center, other nations' equivalents. That, for example, and then state standing natures with the concept used as a tool of with the phrase trading, hunter gatherer. These phrases, these are to obfuscate and to maintain a quality of factory nature as criminal insidiousness nature, self-defended, pseudo-positive, since semi-ancient times, states and areas. So then you don't have protraction of positive's actual course. Why we're here as forever nature. Time is but a tool and manifest value and demonstration of this forever nature's course. The identity of infinity, bigger than its body. The identity of existence, bigger than its body, is self generating. Existence a moment ago has more value now, positive or negative, as Earth's simultaneously distinct and non distinct relationship to the rest of space nature and planets know how they are, individually grouped and all together. And this is how one identity is in demonstration to itself. And its identity of relationship to itself, it never changes as the perfect value progression, as what is causing change, which is its self generation. Allah's name was revealed to teach this. The Trinity was revealed to teach this. See, they put inflation theory. I put inflation, then I looked it up, and I put volume theory, look it up, and they're also tied. And then they have the dark ages in there with their thing. See, that's to obfuscate with the dark. What we need to understand about the dark ages, because they're still recorded and confessed. They're dealing with types of experts, types of sciences to types of jobs. So they are sciences. That's truth. That's facts. But they're not science. These are designed originally and still to be roles to defend pseudo-positive as criminal insidious nature to hide lie progressions that they maintained, facilitated, needed by all in relationship to all standing identity of the ground relationships. So we could afford means to bringing relief to it. They also have terms like communism and capitalism, and Russians and Americans are states and areas in collusion with a whole bunch of other nations, especially with psychology and how it's tied to Justice Department rackets, Washington D.C., Weathersfield, Connecticut. There's a grammar school in my town with various natures of courts that were already facilitated to criminal uses of my name in the background and with their family members, and everyone from the former director of the FBI down to federal criminals associated with him in a tied case slash S with unrelated things, but the same related actors, federal criminal co-defendants of former director of the FBI, involved with a whole bunch of people facilitated the crime acts against me with them. Each campus I went to, and that was facilitated, connected, and then they maintained all kinds of criminal exploitations of that. Facebook is involved with all kinds of natures of crimes. But see, these are various natures of courts appreciating that because they're needing to prevent how they've been hiding from mandated law. They use crime methods. We went into cases, we went into court. They confessed and recorded crime acts roles with sexual harassment per their crime roles with police forms forging and switching names, switching sequences with them, falsified police reports, switching names because then they have you in the identity of the ground. They're sticking fake things in databases. They're maintaining this facilitated as the same criminals involved with through time when I was a kid with database crimes recorded all kinds of ways. Now these are also people, complete strangers like a Joshua Julian. Someone I do know, but Billy, I just walked by him. I don't know. I explained on that on Facebook before. So that's why they're stealing people's Facebook pages because they're needing to hide their live progressions and by hiding their standing live progression cover up natures in relationship to correlation natures means to show that all that recorded effectively sustained ways maintaining exploitation of all their pseudo positive justifications. The perfect world it can't be. Forget about it. You know. So we need tolls. We need the people protesting against it. All these protests, they're all designed to see through time. Equality of fact, shaping nature, inclusion, not realizing victim predators. This is an organized crime method that took nations, tribes A through Z, made them want to be nations against each other, divided everyone, made the unity simultaneously only self-defeating criminal insidious nature unity. This is forever nature's course, forsaking deep. The identity that made that value comes before. This is an Earth simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space nature. Till 3 years, 1,995 days. We're adding value, which is adding to forever nature. Adds to every number at once. This is how forever identity nature works as the nature of volume. Water is like a nature of volume. Gases are like a nature of volume. In space is identity nature. Invisible but still discernible. That's why it's in demonstration to itself. It's in demonstration of the value of its identity of relationship to itself as what's only going to increase the nature of volume every second of everything. Even things gone, because everything is an identity of itself, an identity of forever nature, restricted as the value of the bond to earth, but gained because the value that's coming through that, like through us, the rest of nature, with no criminal foreign influences. These that came from semi-ancient times. This just reminds. I should already put water in my hair or something, but this is critical because every time they open their mouths about ISIS, it demonstrates they're in collusion with their uses of all these religious spots here and there. This is why states and areas aren't supposed to be in. There's supposed to be a separation of church and state, but they have those pseudo positive roles never liberated. They have the first part of the Old Testament and the first part of the Quran demonstrably about the science of countering organized crime associated with the human fact-cheating nature per the sciences criminally re-engineered since before the time of modern religion's messengers. Thank God for them, because they were recorded as science saved English, did damage control, and saved Arabic demonstrably. In other words, we have means, so we have opinions that aren't capable of being honest. The devil knew. So this is one of the little rap guy and friends. The devil knew that everyone was going to blame the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures on other things, others than ourselves. They will only be capable of doing that as fact treatment nature has obligations of increasing value per a value nature system that is deeper than all the positions they took. All the sophistication knowing that is only ground to criminal insidious nature, negative value nature. It only goes to the bond of matter. When it comes to Earth simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the other thing. This is why individual value simultaneously is group sex, grouped area, group subculture, physical culture. Complete culture is a demonstration of itself as the only positive that is also lasting positive, that is also temporary positive. See that we have a fact treatment nature racket that made temporary positive other though since semi-ancient times. It made roles with that through a counter filter to a real filter. The real value of having semi-natures is because that shows where sophistication is being lied about and are being denied, being missed. The complete culture. It shows the complete culture's identity of relationship to itself, how it's being denied. See, we have people with dishonest opinions because they're shock and awe. They're standing criminal insidious nature tools, then they're frustrated, wanting to create that in other people too. That's everyone's looking comparative. They want and need us to blame other people, even though that's right. There are people with very serious crimes with child offenders. Whole bunch of people associated with the Kerr family, with officers associated with Jerry Miller. There's a Jerry Kerr and a Mike Kerr. There are a whole bunch of people associated with DeMoros, associated with crimes with adult campuses through time, with various natures of police forms, foreign and domestic. We have this as a maintained outcome through their shared policing of private. shared policing of when things go wrong, and policing of the branches of government, the judges, various natures of courts, originally and still, misprision, their identities involved with database crimes, their, their identities involved with identity of the grounds, relationship to our fact treatment nature crimes. Simultaneously, there are identities involved with the exploitation of a method to torture and to exploit the fact the negotiated with worse than negotiated with terrorism by our founders. And because everyone's a knave at once, that's just a perfect world. They torture our guys, we do it back. There are hundreds and hundreds of natures sick since ancient times. We have a pathology of infrastructure that was associated with the torture of our slave. In fact, achieving nature slavery of our founders. And that's glorified. That's glorified because they only had an extent of positive. And if they tried to go beyond that, they would have been seen. Because that was the organized crime method with those crazy laws. Slavery laws against every single person. You couldn't speak about something or they would kill you and your whole family. This is the torture, not just extortion. They put torture in there because they were hiding how a whole bunch of nations, Russians and Americans, since I was a little kid, they're recorded and confessed a whole bunch of Joe DeMoro, a whole bunch of other people associate him and his. See, there's a Joe DeMoro from Rocky Hill. There's a Joe DeMoro from Wethersfield. They have family members with people from Italy. The crimes with DACA. So they're recorded confessed. One of the people recorded confessed crimes with this Joshua Julian and with Joshua Stryker involved with identity theft crime acts, crimes with child sex offenders. They're using them to prevent me from telling on stuff. Then you go into the court, they arrest you too by making up fake things, make fake police reports. First doing it with a promise to appear, then making it worse, and then in the end they're pretending criminally that I did something wrong, and they know they didn't, and they forged names. They're switching names since I was a kid. The same courts, same clicks, attaching me to fake locations. They're tied to confessions I didn't understand because there were people I never had a conversation with. How were they made? I don't know. They made confessions. It's also tied to a former mayor Gold and new mayors associated with Enzo Fienza, associated with. So when we have an identity of the grounds is a pathology. These are not our means. So we don't even need. What we need is to have mandated law followed. Then you could see and forgiveness is for this because every single person is with physical delusions recorded. Is because and this is recorded through time. They've been using Facebook for all natures of crimes associated with people on and off the campuses too, because then they're filtering it through this. They're using the identities of the campuses. They're using the identities of locations. Misprision formal people, they don't even know what they're talking about. And in other words, when they do know about other people, it's through others. Originally and still, that's involved with the database organized crime that's connected each age of campus and private campuses and fire campuses, medical campuses. They're in collusion. They're hiding lie progressions. They're using standing means and needs facilitated originally and still to just use the identities of relationship to the ground to hurt the people because that's why we have overt criminal enterprises recorded needing to hide the same finite sequence shifts, active lies, progressive lies, and identity theft crime acts rolls to them. They're not honest when they pretend they hate people. They say, oh, karma and things like that. They're implying that way that they're telling the truth about the past and about others, but they're not letting a quality of fact sheet be nature. They say, oh, let the courts decide it. The courts are recorded and involved with this crime method. That I need to talk about things from the past because now people are active, recorded with the campuses further with child offenders. They're using time always too fast, too slow to get over on people criminally. They're using all the ties with how many ties that are off the record, no one realized were exploited in real originally and still. See, that's what I'm talking about. A method of organized crime that made everyone blame other things, others, and self for the real cause of negative value, nature, progressions, acts, and natures. And especially in relationship to pseudo positive that just can't follow mandated law because they're in collusion with with the various natures of courts, cops, the judges, forging names, switching names, crime acts rolls, falsified police reports, attaching little kids to fake locations and databases with child sex offenders, with interstate groups with drugs, and real sick natures with there's not just undercover legitimately. They're using the right to lie. They're needed to hide lies and delusions by keeping people acting with areas, acting fake emotions and passions so they can keep mandated law from being followed. If you call up the police department, they'll lie about what was recorded. They through time. They'll lie about what people said. They attach everyone to fake words. They force people to speak through their family members, which is a force sustained. Everyone's gonna, no one can live. No one can have a life. No one's gonna be able to meet a partner when no one wants to fight with that crap. You see what I'm saying? Especially women. How they gonna? They're keeping criminal insidiousness nature. See, there's something about a woman's voice that a man's voice can't mimic. It's a value that's extra than ours, but it's positive or negative in relationship to the identity of relationship to itself. Whereas our quality of factory nature, how about the kids? These courts are valuing how they can say, oh, well, this is good, because they're criminal uses of the identities of the ground, self value. Various natures of courts, their criminal uses, self value of how they have types of experts, types of courts, supposed to be able to type things the way they're trained to. They raise them as identities that you can't defend that, and also at the same time, forgiveness is because this is about an organized crime conversation. The reason they have the is about an organized crime. It's also about an organized crime conversation with the identity of the ground as the value of the campus marcias, as the value of the nature of sciences that were lost in some ancient times, and other was defended. And that other defended the other methods of science, all bridge sciences, that that's continuing having that's going to continue to have negative value nature progression acts in nature designed to keep everyone valuing having it blamed on other things other than themselves for their time quality of fact achieving nature. What invested that needs to pretend, you know, all we need is recorded for instant evolution. So we need natures of reliefs. Well, to do this, we have to be able, the only way it works, not just as a nation altogether, distinctly and non-distinct, we have to do it as a species, nature, or volume. We have to heal the tactically denatured relationship to nature and as means. We have to heal, give relief to people who can't speculate how they can take care of themselves, even if they're rich. Because now we're going to take away industries. All of a sudden, people need to look out for their family members. Everyone's got to be. This is a pathology of infrastructure designed to build negative value nature progressions, designed to make everyone preventing mandated law, everyone getting away with it. No, in other words, mandated law reveals that we don't even need to. We have means right now to convert all the tax money and real value and real care to the perfect world's means, which are unfathomed. but they're right here through another method of science, using how we are, how sequence true with care for our inherent active and progressive nature of volume by even more. That's a science that what's going to stay positive onto all those at once, trying to be. That's the nature of correlation that prayer needs science to discern for. It's not prayer asking faith, though. This is an advancement. This is a method of understanding. This is a method of logic. This is logic's values. We have logic of criminal insidiousness nature as the experts of it, and that's criminally exploited originally and still. And that's manifest liars pretending other offensively, using crime methods like that in Russia and America, pretend they had conversations with people. And when those people try to tell about how they know about it, it sounds like they had a conversation because they're communicating with us. They were a whole fake conversation. They forged names of doctors, a Leahy family. These are people involved with people crimes with a whole bunch of federal criminals, a whole bunch of FBI people, a whole bunch of CIA people. Per them, attach me to fake conversations about the CIA too. Fake conversations about police recording my father. That was never at all. These are people with federal crimes in the Trade Center attack context, with people that were crimes with a person who came into my school in fourth grade. I never had a class with him in the grammar school. A Ray Colo. He has a Phil Colo, a cousin, recorded and confessed, involved with the rest of the child offenders with a grammar school and with a middle school further involved with it. And I'm aware of people associated with a high school further involved with it. And I'm aware of them further criminally involved with other schools and on off locations of it and how they use that criminally. Now, these are also people with Washington, D.C. Trade Center jobs, manifest tied to areas, value treatments, uses of victims, pretended care, but they're using them to further those same natures of crimes. There are further crime roles and uses of the victims, focusing on the surviving ones too, especially regarding uses of. In other words, there's also a SOTO. There's a whole bunch of people with the SOTO involved with the police chief, involved with the child sex offenders. With his daughter involved with the school. No, with a principal that used to be there years ago with his daughter in the school, and no, her boyfriend is associated with doctors of psychology involved with the child abuses here. Her past boyfriend and her husband is associated with the Galucci, John Galucci from boxing, Johnny Duke. He has a relative that works with the educational department as the lead of the educational department at CCSU. Now, see, various departments at CCSU were involved with interbranch families with my town, Weathersfield, Connecticut, intercity associated with child offenses of a whole bunch of juxtaposed natures through time. These are various natures of courts involved with a whole bunch of kids. See, these are people that are involved with a whole bunch of federal criminals criminally that were co-defendants of former director of the FBI. One of them had a daughter in my grade. One of them is Thaddeus Grabowski, involved with Fox Connecticut News with database crimes with on off their location, with people with the policing of the buildings, and they have Russians involved with this too criminally with them, and they have Pakistani involved with them too criminally. I don't know if it has to do with nuclear because they also recorded and confessed that they have the Connecticut River associated with things like that. In other words, and these are people that in other words they don't have the integrity for that because they're still uncharged and preventing mandated law, free speech, free religion, freedom of religion, the freedom of true sequence, the freedom to counter identity thefts, especially of whole areas. These are people from Weathersfield interbranch involved with also with crimes specifically on the north end of Hartford. Inter parts of it. So these are interbranch. I don't care if they're undercover or they're degenerates originally and still as victims, but as victim predators. So now we have to have mandated law followed. and that's why they want that how you can discern it's recorded, how they're not letting mandated law follow. They're needing to pretend things in the background. They're using judges forging names and switching names, and they use the court's people to use the databases criminally already. All we need is recorded there, and we can't go in there and force that. So we need to have them pick one name in sequence and get those databases corrected. And see, now we're going to have a mass problem because they have criminality with a whole bunch of cases already recorded, and they're just going forward anyway, pretending not. They don't realize how they were facilitated to that, motivated as victim predators is recorded also, how involved with the databases crimes. This is a child abuse method against each age of fact, human nature together. They're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminally involved further with the elderly home in Hartford, elderly homes, the policing of them. A whole bunch of people associated with it, Dylan, Detective Dylan, and a Sean Dillon, a Kevin Dillon and Sean Dillon, with Rocky Hill locations on Fox Connecticut News in Hartford, but also and the buildings with the clubs next to it. And these are people of federal crimes with Russians, Trade Center predicate acts recorded, mail crimes, fake conversations with me through time, attaching little kids to fake conversations about other kids through time. That's also his crime acts roles with the Kerr family and with a Chris Walters and with a Gary Sasso, and recorded, confessed, involved with a whole bunch of women with the women programs at CCSU, and with Gail King. They're using Gail King sensibilities. They're using the color black criminally, originally and still. You can't entertain that and pretend you have the integrity to even hear what has to be said for people in Hartford, Connecticut, in desperation. Not because there's not enough jobs, because the jobs, the doors to them are all criminally foreign influenced. You have to, because they're all fake. CT must break. So WFSB, Fox Connecticut News, let's go. Fix the fake news, because also you guys are Crime Acts roles, uses of the sensibilities in online platforms for identity thefts. Roles with that, with former director of the FBI all the way down with identity theft societies they use for trade center predicate acts, and with the Scalora family involved with identity theft crime acts, crimes on off the CCSU, interstate, on off the trade center attack context further, and with people inside out of the Ninth Circuit with a proven sequence shift that had been affected from inside the Ninth Circuit right before the Trade Center attack. That's a court in Manhattan, right next to the Trade Center. Trade Center got shut down right after that. So these are also foreign and domestic military facilitated the crime acts roles with evidence reception, identity theft crime acts with interbranch police pretending to perceive things, pretending things are recorded, leading up to, and criminal uses of databases, of courts and of on off CCSU leading up to in the Trade Center attack. Criminal uses of each of the departments at the campuses. These are the same ones that use that CCSU from off campuses criminally. They used Trinity College criminally. Same ones were facilitated the crimes of a whole bunch of people with the name Alicia, like more than 5 or 6 people with that name, and then women that you share the name Bobby. These are both parties involved with this criminally through time. These are all the jobs and positions of fact sheeping nature in relationship to things. They have methods like where they hand you a thing and they have you hand in your complaint or you're not about the teachers, and they have kids do it. These are people forging names, switching names, writing. These are real insidious games they do intercampuses that to maintain roles with what has our directors criminally foreign influence, who has other nations' directors at the same time, criminally foreign influence. It's maintained through what their shared relationship to the identity ground as a valued glorification, valuing what you can't value and tell about. what didn't let free speech. Can't tell about what we need to tell about. You can't have our, we can't defend ourselves. See, these are other motivations, nature's needs and roles with gun crimes. You know, this is what kept their punk souls originally and still modern nations. These are not our needs. So we need the fake news corrected. And we need to have the courts, because they're the whole, they stack each other's names into the crime acts rolls. Their databases are involved with the child offenders problems, and they have religious spots, like there are Jewish groups, various natures of Christianity, and Muslim groups involved with the doctors and the rest of the overt criminal enterprises, and private ones recorded and involved criminally with the courts involved criminally. And this is since leading up to the Trade Center attack, from Connecticut interstates. And worse than interstates, facilitated crime acts rolls, illusions from the people on and off CCSU, from the people on and off Trinity College, from off the campus maintained, facilitating to it. So they won't put, so in other words, I don't know I can't get a response because they're forging names and switching names. These are people, crimes recorded with the family members of the federal criminal code defendants, a former director of the FBI too. These are crime act criminal uses of them leading up to a 2006 case. They used my college campuses criminally against me. Leading up to it, and since they used houses on off Two Rod Highway and Hang Dog Lane, who were recorded and confessed, tied to sequence shifts when I was a kid. I didn't have anything to do with them. They had the pretend other. And they used how they pretend to film things for other locations and not realize. They pretend to film things. These are offensive evidence reception predators. There are two Mendez police also recorded and confessed by involved criminally with a Kerr family and with a DeMoro family, with drug crimes with the kids and with doctors and with religious spots with the kids criminally, and they make them act and things like that because they're keeping each age of correlation nature told lies by a crime method that's also making them make confessions about their roles with overt criminal enterprises and demonstrations of it. Their family members too, and these are more than one. These are a whole bunch of different Puerto Rican criminal enterprises, Italian criminal enterprises associated with the DeMoro Kerr family. I don't know them. I only know them from them seeking me out to make and seeking other people to make these confessions. And I say now they're adults involved with judges forging names, switching names and sequences, and preventing mandated law criminally. A whole bunch of natures of courts, but especially New Britain Superior Court and Hartford courts involved in the state on and off the state judicial branch offices, which Enzo Faenza and other women and men and kids also recorded and confessed were involved with this. See, this is insidious. Offensive evidence reception predators, interbranch through time. Also, a whole bunch of people with the shared policing of Stop and Shops, and the managers are involved with foreign domestic families, with the overt criminal enterprises, and with the and with the private ones, and with what's using everyone, investing their family, everyone fake sides. They're keeping the knaves at the trade center only positive in relationship to wars and crazy things that wouldn't even be if we didn't have them navies in the first place. And they're forcing that value in relation to that. They're using every identity of value offensively, insidiously, and alter roles, or you're hurt. That's why the VA is stacked like that. People stacking. This is a pathology they planned since before we were sophistication here, since before our founders were born. There's a pathology, an organized crime method. They use slavery, real against everyone. Now that pathology, the only reason, it's not because of people have a free speech opinion. They don't have opinions. Follow mandated law. We have election crimes. Weathersfield's involved with election crimes and crime methods where they force you to speak through other people so they can forge names, switch things, and make things up. WFSB has recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminal uses of acting, approaching my mother after they already had recorded federal crime acts rolls with federal criminals from the Trade Center attack and with crimes in Connecticut cases, in a district court case, in Connecticut, in New Britain Superior Court, involved with sexual harassment and other natures of harassment or hurt other people, all kinds of federal crimes against everyone. No, they're playing games. In other words, no one wants to be speaking through other people. Everyone wants to speak for themselves. So get me a response, because I'm going to speak. I'm telling you right now. Respond for how they didn't. They first forced the principal child offender. Worse was recorded and confessed to me, demonstrated. I was in the process of figuring out how to counter. They have physical delusions, and they have crime methods recorded, offensively pretending to perceive things, and really perceiving things probably, but they're offensively, criminally pretending to perceive things, sequence shifting, forging and switching names at Wethersfield Police. Now they're recorded and confessed crimes with FBI here, with state police, with foreign and domestic military, and MPO Floyd, people associated with Justin Klavinskis, Normandy Heights, apartments next to it, with his wife involved criminally, databases when she was growing up criminally, with people with crimes with a Leahy family that pretended they knew me through time. I never had one conversation with them in my life. They're recorded. They used with other men and women in their family, use a triage place. Crimes with child offenders with this Dillon family. All natures of predicate acts. Crimes with FBI, CIA, criminal roles with my new and past neighbors, with real estate crimes, with various natures of courts criminally involved, criminal uses of depositions to pretend things that they pretend to perceive in other cases. They're all natures of identity theft crime acts. Forget about it. We have no integrity into branch. All rise!